What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 321.3, the College Football Report with Eric and Ryan Robinson, our Big Ten preview. We call it that because we will have our official Big Ten preview right before the season with all of our official picks and everything like that. Here they are, Eric and Ryan Robinson. Eric, our main Big Ten guy. Ryan, of course, also contributing to the conversation. Eric and Ryan will join us weekly throughout the year to talk college football and, of course, react to all the big games across the country, particularly IU, Notre Dame, and Purdue. So make sure you subscribe.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, college football fans, Irish fans, Hoosier fans, Boilermaker fans, and even Buckeye and Wolverine fans to the Central Indiana Sports Report for our Big Ten, what I'm calling pre-preview. We'll have an actual preview when we get closer to the season. But I just wanted to catch up with Eric and Ryan Robinson after a few weeks away from college football talk and get an idea of what it's going to be like in the Big Ten and go through Eric's levels of the Big Ten. Of course, Eric is our Big Ten guy. Ryan, a little bit more of our SEC guy. Both are Notre Dame guys. Huge Notre Dame, IU fans as well. So we kind of got it covered here. And Eric, let's start with your bottom six teams you don't think will be a factor. Just mention them. We don't need to go through details.
Right. Yeah. So with an 18-team conference, I mean, there's going to be, we talked about it last year. We're going to talk about it next year. There's just teams that are not going to be in the mix or contention. Bottom six in no order: UCLA, Michigan State, Rutgers, Maryland, Northwestern, and I did put Purdue last, but that's not because I think they're going to be last.
Yeah, guys, I think Purdue's going to win at least one Big Ten game this year. I like the way Odom's going, taking this program.
I like your optimism, and I hope they do. I hope they win. I hope they win 7 games. I'm not hating on Purdue, but
right.
This just, I know we're going to move on, but briefly on Purdue, they're at a fork in the road here. Which way this program's going to go? They only return one starter on a team that didn't win any games last year.
I mean, you don't want a lot of starters from a team that only won one game last year.
Yeah, they had to they brought in 52 kids too from the portal and not one 4-star. Yeah, so a lot of moving around over there. Not a good formula to get a program back on track, but I hope they find a way.
But Odom can coach. All right, let's go to your next level. I guess we'll call these outside contenders.
Yeah, so the last 4 teams contending, so this would basically be like number 9 through 12. I have Iowa, Washington, Minnesota, and Wisconsin.
I'm a little surprised Iowa's outside of your top 12.
Well, so there's a little bit of a criteria I go by, and you look at the strength of schedule, returning starters from the year ago, and the quarterback situation. I think those 3 things are the top 3 things you want to look at with the program.
I mean, Mark Gronowski is awfully good, Eric, from North Dakota State.
Yeah, we will see. But they have the 3rd toughest schedule this year in the Big Ten. Iowa does, which is different from last year, which is why I had Iowa, I think, number 4 or 5, I think.
Right. You said if they got anything out of the passing game, they'd be the best team in the country, and then they did not.
They did not. But you got quarterback issues at Washington. Wisconsin just is stagnant at the moment. Their schedule's not very favorable as well. I think let's look at their returners. They return 9 starters, so they're right in the middle of the pack on everything. There's not a lot to be excited about just yet for Luke Fickell in that program.
I will say at Washington, Damon Williams, a lot of buzz about the freshman quarterback. Eric, and then the next level of teams we're going to start to get into a little more. These are teams that you probably expect to be in the postseason.
Right. I've kind of got these grouped together. as well. Just a little 3-pack of Nebraska, Indiana, and USC. I think definitely all going to go bowling. I don't think they're going to contend for a Big Ten title. Honestly, I know people are going to not like this, but I think Nebraska and USC have a better chance of stirring the pot a little bit in the league than Indiana. I'm not high on Indiana this year at all.
Not the same way.
No, but you look at Dylan Raiola coming back at Nebraska. They did go bowling last year. USC has seemed to have found their quarterback. Last year, he started the last 4 games, and they've got probably the best wide receiver unit in the country with picking up a portal kid. And I'm also a little bit with USC is I've watched USC so many times my whole life because Notre Dame plays them every year. I don't
Right.
think I don't think it's possible for them to go 4 years and be mediocre. I'm betting on
Oof.
the odds that this team is ready to go. Offensively, they're ready to go. Lincoln Riley, he better get something going this year.
Seems like the offensive line might be a little better this year for USC.
Right. I look for them. They could be, man, I think they could be as good as maybe top 4. But
Yeah,
right now, I've got them in the lower end of top 10. But there's talent there, and I know they spent a lot of money in the offseason, so we'll see what happens. The quarterback play is going to be the issue there. And the kid only has 4 starts, and the last 2 touchdowns he threw last year, they were to Notre Dame. So pick
that's right.
sixes by Gray and Xavier Watts.
Ryan, anything you disagree with so far?
No, my concern with Wisconsin is, that's a real passionate fan base. And Luke Fickell right now is at 13-13 in 2 years. And I think one report I saw, they had him finish in like 12th in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
So I wonder how hot his seat might be getting. And as far as IU goes, I mean, the turnaround was so quick last year, and just the passion that the program came with and filled that stadium up for home games. It was really cool to see. I'm wondering if their start to the season, and not just the season, the conference season, because they got 3 cupcakes to start with.
ooh,
But
cupcakes,
but
man.
they yeah, can we talk about that for a moment? Yeah. So the national narrative last year on IU was their schedule. You had to hear it every week. The schedule, the schedule, and you're going to come off of a college football playoff run and open up with Old Dominion and Kennesaw State, and then Indiana State. I say shame on you, Indiana. That's not acceptable. Yeah, but those schedules are made a few years in advance, so they couldn't have foreseen this happening. But my
Yeah.
argument with IU and how neat it was last year to rally with that program. What happens, Eric? Your thoughts? They're going to start 3-0 probably, and then they could be looking at a 1-2 start in the Big Ten. That's if they win the home opener against Illinois, who you haven't even mentioned yet. So I know you have them in your top 8. And then you go on the road to Iowa and then on the road to Oregon. So as fast as that balloon inflated last year with support, at what point could it deflate? Could a 1-2 Big Ten start do it? Well, back to the scheduling issue. We see how many times have we seen Notre Dame change their preseason schedule? They do it on the fly every year. They just
Yeah,
put the Miami
they
game in there
could.
this year. If Indiana wanted to change their schedule, they could have. There would be plenty of teams who would love to have an Indiana on their non-conference across like an SEC team to play in Indiana. They
It's
could have
really
had
sad.
plenty of yeah, they could have had plenty of takers to jump in there.
I mean, not even a MAC school.
Right.
Not even a MAC school. That is embarrassing.
Yeah, I think it
Ugh.
is. To the season, yeah, they're 3-0, but I've got them actually, and I do have Illinois coming up. That's week 1 of the Big Ten, as you mentioned. Illinois on the road at IU, and that's a pivotal game right there. That's a season-making victory in the right direction for one of those 2 teams. And with the schedule after Illinois for Indiana, they better beat Illinois because they're looking at 0-3. Yeah. Yeah, they go at Iowa and at Oregon. And that Illinois game's not going to be easy. They are so good at quarterback. The Altmaier kid decided to return, and he had big numbers last year. So I look for him to have an even bigger year this year.
Are they good enough in the trenches, Illinois?
Well, here, absolutely they are. That's Coach Bielema's forte. They're big up front on both sides of the ball. I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions. How many games did Illinois win last year? 10. Who did they
7?
beat? They won 10 games? Who did they
Wow.
beat in their bowl game? Um, they beat South Carolina or South Carolina. And remember who South Carolina was at the time? Everyone was crying about them being a playoff
That's right.
team. They should have made the playoff. They should have made the playoff. Illinois goes out and puts a whooping on them. Yeah, they're going to have a really solid season.
It's just hard for me to imagine Illinois and Indiana are going to have a big game in the Big Ten. Week 1. It's crazy.
And then you have programs like Michigan State who thought they hit a home run with the new hire and that blew up in their face. And now they're picked like 17th in the conference. I mean, it's just nuts how quick things could turn in college football.
Eric, I know we're going to have some disagreements at the top 5 because I think there's a team that has a higher ceiling than even Ohio State and Penn State. But let's hear your top 5.
Well, now you've got me interested in your opinion. I think I'm going to make a change on the fly. I was debating it prior to our call. We'll start with number 5 and work up. Man, I'm just going to go. I'm going to go for it. All right, number 5, I got Oregon. Big questions at quarterback, Greg. Dante Moore didn't play at all last year, sat behind Dylan Gabriel. He had a mediocre season at UCLA 2 years ago. He's thrown 8 passes in 2 years. He's the starter for a reason. I mean, Dan Lanning knows way more about college football than I do, but that's a huge red flag for me. Is that quarterback? Their schedule, they go to Penn State, but they have USC and Indiana at home. I think this was the team I was getting ready to make a move on the fly. I could see Oregon being number 2. I got them at 5.
Yeah, that's how good this Big Ten's going to be, isn't it?
It's going to be amazing because I don't want to do a spoiler alert. Let's move on to 4, and I'll tell you my logic on how these teams can move around. So at number 4, this will make my friends at work happy. I got Michigan back in the game. Coming off wins, I know they don't matter year to year, but that program, that win over Ohio State was amazing. And then they go on to the bowl game and beat Alabama. They're on a huge high. They land the number 1 player in the country in Bryce Underwood.
That's right.
And right now, they haven't announced him the starting quarterback. But if he does win the job, they're looking at being solid there at quarterback for at least 3 years. But right now, Davis Warren's also in the mix, who started games for him last year. And Michigan has the easiest schedule in the Big Ten.
Yes, they do. That's why I think they are the sleeper to win the Big Ten.
Yeah, the quarterback you're talking about, they stole at the 5th hour from LSU late last year.
Bryce Underwood.
Yeah. Yeah, but they only have to go to Nebraska, to USC, and they obviously are going to have Ohio State at home. But they have a nice non-conference game at Oklahoma before Big Ten season. So kudos to Michigan for going out and playing a real football team. But yeah, the Big Ten schedule lines up perfectly for them. And on their returning starters, I know they were decimated a year ago after that national championship run. They lost all their offensive line and defensive line. Michigan has 13 starters coming back. So watch out for Michigan this year. If they get the quarterback play, I agree with Greg. They could be the team to beat.
Where do you disagree so far, Ryan? Anywhere?
I don't think Oregon finishes as low as 5. I just think if there's a coach that can get quarterback play and maximize it, it's Dan Lanning. So I think he'll figure out a way to make that quarterback situation work. And they're just talented all over the ball, defensively, offensively. So I would have, before any games are played, probably number 3 would be the lowest I would start Oregon at. They're the team I'm struggling with most of all. Like I said, they were the team. I could move them up to 2. I could see them at 3. But I'm going to stick with what I'm saying because that's what we do. And
that's right.
We'll see how it plays out. I put them at 5 for a reason, and that's how I felt. So, but yeah, I'm probably I could see it going either way. They could win the Big Ten. Who knows?
Eric, before we get to your top three, first of all I want to brag real fast that I picked Purdue to finish last year in the Big Ten, so I nailed that. But let's go over some of your picks from last year because we were talking about that before the podcast, and you were even having IU in the top five. Unbelievable predictions last year. I thought you were nuts.
I know. I think everyone did. And they probably stopped listening to about week 4.
Maybe Eric does know what he's talking about. Well, first of all, you had Ohio State winning it all before the season. You did deviate from that during the season. I want to say that, but that was for sure. You picked Ohio State to win it all, so you got that one. What else? I can't recall off the top of my head, but pretty much nailed all of your predictions.
One of the crazy one was I said the loser of the Ohio State-Oregon game would probably likely come back and win the playoff rematch and win the whole thing.
That's right.
That's right.
I need to start polling our predictions and keeping track, because last year some of your predictions were every week we were saying, "Man, Eric, you called that exactly."
Well, don't hang on to my Jackson Dart for Heisman.
Well, and your Ole Miss national title predictions.
I keep forgetting Lane Kiffin's their coach.
That's right, you do.
All right, wait, who's your top 3, Eric? Okay, at number 3, Illinois. Like we mentioned earlier, 10-2 last year. They have the third easiest schedule in the Big Ten this year. Their only road game with any significance is week 1 at Indiana. Well, week 4 of the season, but Big Ten season, week 1. They're at Indiana, and they have USC at home and Ohio State at home. You mentioned Drew Altmaier returning. Last year, he threw for just under 3,000 yards and 22 touchdowns. He's just a game. He reminds me a lot of Drew Aller at Penn State. He just doesn't get you in trouble. He takes care of the game, manages the game. And of all the returning starters, Illinois has 16 of them. They lead the Big Ten in returners. And they're one of 5 teams that have a returning quarterback. We didn't mention that earlier, but this is from 18 teams: Penn State, Nebraska, Illinois, Purdue, and Oregon, because Dante Moore did play before, have a quarterback returning. There's a lot of unknowns out there from top to bottom. You have the portal people coming in. You have head-to-head competitions going on, especially at our number 2 school. And we can jump into that, and that's Ohio State. The returning starters for them, they've got 9. And they're right in the middle of the pack on scheduling. They got at Illinois, which is going to be huge, and of course, end of the year at Michigan. They're hosting Texas in week 1 in August, which is going to be huge.
Big boy football.
Big boy football, not like they do in Bloomington. They'll play Penn State at home as well. The big question that for Ohio State is quarterback play. Right now, they haven't named a starter. They've got a kid. 2, a redshirt junior and a redshirt sophomore. The sophomore is a transfer from Alabama. So they got Julian Sayin and Lincoln Kienholz. Right, so the quarterback issue there is huge. And it was funny when I was checking some of the rosters for Ohio State, different local newspaper articles would pop up, and the Columbus faithful are in a frenzy over this quarterback competition, and they've never really had a competition at quarterback before. And you think back over the years, their quarterbacks have just been lined up until they weren't last year, and they go get Will Howard out of the portal. But you look at their quarterback the last 10 years, they've just lined them up. And so this is new for them. They must have confidence in either one of these 2 kids, or they would have went out and got somebody. So I think it'll work out. But the talent on offense and defense for Ohio State is off the charts. I think you might have the best defensive player in the country, not just the Big Ten, and
Caleb Downs.
And the front runner for the Heisman and definitely Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year for me is Jeremiah Smith. So they've got playmakers. They got to figure out which one of these quarterbacks can get Jeremiah Smith the football, and he's going to get the starting job. we'll go to our number one team, and I think this is a clear, hands down number one pick. I know they're not getting a lot of love unanimously like they should, but Penn State is the clear favorite for me to win the Big Ten. They're going to have a 3-year starter in Drew
Clear, huh?
Aller. Oh, I think that team's so good, Greg. They're solid on every facet of the game. And I'm going to officially put my James Franklin choke narrative to rest. I will not mention it at all after what he did last year.
That's right.
I'm high on this Penn State team, and I can't. I think Nick Singleton at running back might be. Man, he may be the first running back taken in the draft. This kid, when you watch him up close, I got to see him at the Orange Bowl, and he is just a different kind of a runner. Fast, and he can come out of the backfield catching the football. He can run over people. But him and Katron Allen both were over 1,000 yards for Penn State last year, and they're both back. That Penn State offense is going to be electric. Schedule-wise, they go to Iowa, to Ohio State, but they got Oregon and Indiana at home. This is of the top 5. This was the easiest for me to pick, was Penn State number 1.
And they might have gotten better on defense, and they only gave up, I think, 16 points last year, and they might be even better this year.
Yeah, they lost to Abdul Carter in the draft, but they returned 14 starters. They're not going to skip a beat. They lost Tyler Warren at tight end, Abdul Carter on defense. Great college football players, but I'm pretty sure they have a tight end who's going to step in and be just fine there for Penn State. And you lose Carter on defense. They're not gonna take a step backwards. I think they move forward. They're really going to contend for a national championship, I think.
Would they be your pick right now?
I think they would be based on the history the last few years at quarterback. You're bringing back a guy for his 3rd year. If you look at the national champions, we'll go back 2 or 3 years. I'm going to give you a list of names, winners and losers in the title game of quarterbacks who played in the title game. And the reason they got there, I'm telling you, the reason they got there, big time reason they got there, was quarterback play and experience. A couple years ago, Michigan, Washington, you got McCarthy and Michael Penix. How many starts did they have combined? 50. Stetson Bennett at Georgia, starter for 3 years. Last year, Will Howard, 3-year starter. Riley Leonard, 3-year starter. His team makes the championship game. You have to have leadership and experience at the quarterback position to win the title. Penn State's got it.
You know, this is a perfect time since you got to your number 1. You know, we've watched college football for so many years, and, you know, the SEC dominated for about 15 years straight now. But, Eric, you're the Big Ten expert. Is this going to be the 3rd year in a row the Big Ten wins the national title?
I'm going to say yes, and I tell you why. And, Greg, you can edit this out if I say anything I shouldn't say, but with this NIL, the impact of the NIL on the Big Ten is impacting the Big Ten more positively than the SEC, because this has been going on in the SEC schools for a long time.
That's right. They were already doing it there.
Now you got these Big Ten schools that we leveled the playing field.
Even footing. That's right.
If you can make money and go to Michigan, why not go to Michigan? You know, you would go to Ole Miss before to get paid or whatever. I'm not going to put any schools on blast, but the narrative's always been the SEC's always been paying players. So I think the fact that players can stay in the Midwest and go to schools like Michigan and Penn State, I think even Notre Dame, we talk about them later, look at what they're doing recruiting and NIL. I think it's given the entire country an opportunity to play on the level that the Southern schools have been playing on for decades. So I think the Big Ten is just going to run with this. I think you see, you know, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, we've got teams that can win the whole thing. Michigan, they may make a run.
I have a feeling you're wrong about Illinois. I think they will not finish as high as you think, but we'll see. It's probably just my bias of the last 50 years of proof. So, offensive player of the year, then, Eric, is it going to be Drew Aller? Or is it going to be Jeremiah Smith?
Man, that's a good question. Right now, I'm going to say Jeremiah Smith. And I would almost put Nick Singleton ahead of Drew Aller, too. Nick Singleton's going to have a year.
Defensive player of the year, Downs?
I think it's clear. Yeah, hands down. Caleb Downs right now.
So, who's the sleeper in your mind?
To win the Big Ten championship, my sleeper would be, Nebraska.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. You could see, I think there's up to like maybe 10 teams that if everything went right, it wouldn't be that surprising if they were Big Ten champions or in the playoffs. All right. Can't wait for the college football season. This is a fun preview of the Big Ten. We will do another one in the next couple of weeks for the SEC and then kind of take a look at the national picture. And, of course, we'll talk Irish all before the official second season gets going in early August. Thanks so much, guys.
Appreciate it. All right. Appreciate it.
It had been way too long since we'd had a college football report. Thought we really needed that, and now we will continue doing that every week through the end of the college football season. Thank you for listening. Please consider sharing these podcasts with the college football fans in your life. Also, Eric and Ryan run an incredible food trailer called Daddy-O's. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw the ads, but please go check them out. They're amazing, and of course, they're great guys. They deserve your support. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.